Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome into your Arkansas football recruiting report. That's Otis Kirk. I'm Evan Kamiko. Otis, big news out of the Razorback football program earlier this week as 2024 commit Ashton Bethel-Roman will no longer be playing football at Arkansas. What's the latest that you found out as this story continues to develop throughout the week?
Yeah, I'm going to say something about this, and I know people hear what they want to hear, but I'm going to say I never felt Ashton was all the way in on this class, but I know people will start saying that means he's overrated. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Ashton Bethel-Roman is a stud. I'm not trying to downplay the fact he's not going to be a Razorback. What I'm saying is I never felt he was all the way in. The kid Kenny Guyton did leave after signing day for Wisconsin, but even if you remember on that national signing or on December the 20th, the early signing period, the day that he signed, he didn't sign until Pittman went to the podium, even though he'd been committed for months. He was the last one to sign. He took a visit to A&M right before the signing day, and he visited Missouri earlier than that. I just never felt like the kid was all the way in, Evan. I really didn't. I know because he was committed for quite some time, and I know the Guyton leaving is the excuse we can use, but he was not all the way in before that because, like I said, he'd been committed for months, and he didn't sign. His letter wasn't official until Sam was already at the podium getting ready to talking. So I just don't feel like the kid was ever all the way in on the class for whatever reasons.
And
He committed, but he had some doubts, and it's probably the best. I think it's best for all involved that he could come here and attend a school for a semester and go through the motions because he wasn't midterm, or go through the summer and leave before summer drills in. So I think now he's got time to find schools and get ready and do whatever he's got to do. And then Arkansas can find another receiver and do what they've got to do. So I think it's okay. I think it's okay myself because I just never felt like the kid was all the way in. I really didn't. And please don't go say that Otis Kirk said the kid is overrated. That's not what I'm saying. The kid is a bona fide stud. He is a legit wide receiver. Has nothing to do with his talent. I'm just saying I never felt like the kid was all the way in. That's my opinion, and that's what it is, and that's all it is, but it has nothing to do with his playing ability. I know that I know how that gets twisted on social media, and I don't want it twisted because I'm not saying he's overrated by any stretch of the imagination.
And to your point, Otis, it was kind of interesting because I remember Alyssa and I were over at Sam's press conference that day, and we're kind of scratching our heads going, okay, Ashton Bethel-Roman hasn't signed yet. And then
Exactly.
Sam walked in and he was like, yeah, I just got the call 20 minutes ago that Ashton signed. And we're like, oh, that tracks. Like, everybody's going to be excited for it. But to your point, even if the coach is kind of up there going, yeah, I just got that, there always seemed to be something off. But one of the questions that people reach out to me about for this signing is how is it possible that when you sign your national letter of intent, you're 9 times out of 10 going to go? So how is it possible, Otis, that Ashton was able to pull his letter essentially and decommit from Arkansas after already signing?
Well, the school's got to consent to it, Evan. They could hold him to it, but what good does it do to hold a kid to it? I mean, it is a binding letter of intent, and barring some really unusual circumstances, like the coach leaving, the head coach I'm talking about, head coach leaving or somebody leaving, usually you don't let a kid out of it. But my impression or my thoughts on that, my thoughts on that has always been, why should you want to bind somebody, force them to come? They don't want to be here. They could be here a week and they can leave, Evan. I mean, like I said, he could get here in June, late May, early June, when the rest of these, there's only 3 now that didn't come in at midterm. Those kids get here. Bradley Shaw, him, the receiver from Louisiana, and White Simmons. They get here at midterm. I mean, in late May, early June, and then he could leave 5 minutes after he gets on campus. So why even force it? Why not just let him go if that's what he wants? And just I just think you can. Technically, you could hold him to that, but it doesn't do any good because if they don't want to be here, I think it could cause some issues if they came, and they can leave after they come. And like I said, now you can go find you another receiver. If you feel like you need another receiver in the class of 2024, you've got probably going to be the portal if you do, but you've got the next portal date coming up in April that you can maybe find another receiver if you feel like you need one. They may not feel like they need one. I know they've signed some, and but we'll see. I mean, but it does open up the possibility of Arkansas maybe looking to see what's out there in the wide receiver field that they wouldn't have other, or they might be a high school guy that late qualifier somewhere down the road, that looks like he's going to JUCO, and all of a sudden he gets eligible and he's a very good receiver. You might probably not that route, but you could. I mean, that's happened before. It wouldn't be the first time. So it gives you avenues, but I'm just not going to force a kid to come. And I think that's U of A's stance is if he doesn't want to be here, let him go. It could cause problems either way. Or eventually it's going to be an issue eventually. If they don't want to be here, it's going to be a big issue eventually. And instead of making it get ugly, just let him go. And, one kid's not going to make the program. I don't care how talented they are. One kid's not going to make or break the program. They're just not. And he is very talented, but he wasn't going to make the program. And it's not worth the hassle of going through and holding him to the letter of intent that he doesn't want to be here. He probably should have never signed. If as we said, we're all sitting over there that day, and I'm thinking, if it takes him that long to decide after being committed for 5, 6, 7 months, and there's an issue, and that was before, and Kenny Guyton was still here on that early signing period, so that wasn't that was an issue before Kenny Guyton ever left.
And not to mention, we talk about wide receivers, we talk about speed. Jordan Anthony yesterday put up a 6.68 second, 60 meters. So I think Arkansas is going to be pretty fine when it comes to speed in this season. But let's move on. Let's talk Markaylin Batten, an athlete out of Athens, class of 2025, Atlanta. What do you have on him?
Yeah, his nephew of Jason Peters, who played here. Jason was actually from Queen City. Randy Garner played here from Atlanta, a defensive end, chose Arkansas over Texas and others. Jason Peters was a big-time player here from Queen City, nearby Atlanta. I think they're right there. I've been there. Best I remember, they're right there together. Queen City, not very far from Atlanta. But anyway, he's nephew of Jason Peters, who played in the NFL for many years. I guess still there was. The Iron Man just played forever. But Batten is a kid that can play running back, defensive back. He's an athlete. I mean, technically, I guess he could play wide receiver. They threw to him in the backfield down there at Atlanta. Atlanta, Texas. He rushed 81 times for 610 yards, 9 touchdowns. Caught 16 passes, 255 yards, 4 touchdowns, 17 tackles on defense, 2 pass breakups, and an interception. Play on either side of the ball. Probably 6 foot, 171, maybe something like that, 174. I've seen him listed shorter than that, and I haven't seen him in person, but I've seen him between 5'10" and 6 foot, and about 170 to 174 pounds. But a good sized athlete, decent, not huge. Probably makes you think he may or may not be a running back at that size, because you don't see very many SEC running backs at 100, even 174 is the top weight I've seen listed at. But not saying he couldn't, but he's a good athlete. He tried to commit to Arkansas about 2 weeks ago, actually. And I think they wanted to see I've heard mixed reviews, and when they can't comment, when it's not coming from them and they can't comment on the record, then it gets confusing. But he tried to commit a couple of weeks ago. I think Arkansas, what the deal was, what I've been told, was they wanted to either see more film of him, or see him in person and check out his size, see him during that evaluation when they were out in January, and see his size and stuff, and just see more of him and watch more film and stuff. But he's a taker. He had about 16 offers. He's got good offers. There's no reason not to take him. It's just there again, it goes back to whatever position do you want him at. I mean, but he's capable of playing 2 or 3 running back, wide receiver, defensive, cornerback. So I mean, he's at least 3 positions are a possibility. And so I mean, why not take him? It's 2025 class. They've got 4 commitments there. You got a quarterback, a running back, a kicker, and now an athlete. So you take him, and the way I look at it, you take somebody with talent, Evan, and you find a place to play them. You can always find a place to play. So if they're talented enough, you can find a spot for them. And that's how I kind of look at Batten. Is he just He just, he's an athlete and he can play a lot of positions. And there's you always going to need help basically at any position. I've never seen it so stockpiled at Arkansas that they didn't need help at some position.
Absolutely. It never hurts to have help. And speaking of adding more help, the Hogs, we know that they've been looking to add help to that offensive line. And the last recruit, target we'll talk about is Branson Hickman, a center from Tulsa SMU. What do you have on Hickman?
Yeah, he's supposed to visit after this dead period ends. Hickman is starting center last 33 games at SMU. He has started, played at Dallas Jesuit High School, 6'3", 294 pounds. Got so many sizes, I'm getting tongue-tied here. But, he's a center, true center. And Sam had said that they wanted to find an interior offensive lineman with this last offensive line scholarship. And, he's somebody, the kid from Florida they were looking at. He went to Nebraska, so they've still got an opening there, and they might fill it with Branson. He went to SMU, started some games, got hurt. Then he started the last 33 games he played there, so he's established on a very good SMU team. They won a lot of games this year under Rhett Lashley down there. Very good team, beat some good teams. They did lose their bowl game, but they won a lot of games, and he's going to enter the portal. What he's doing, he's going to class down there this semester and going to graduate. That way he will be a grad transfer when he leaves there. But he will take a visit to Arkansas in the spring after this period ends in March, early March. So at some point there, I don't think the date's been set, but if it has, it's going to be after the dead period, and he will visit there, and he'll have plenty of time because he's not going to graduate till I'm looking at probably May, so, he's going to have some time there to take a visit to Arkansas. He'd probably take some other visits, but that's one they're targeting for that extra interior offensive line spot. Be a natural because Sam was hoping to get a guard that could maybe snap or something, too. But they wanted somebody who could snap the ball. And if you can get a guy who snapped 33 straight games, starts for SMU, then you don't have to worry about, he's a guard, but can he snap the ball? This kid can do it, and he can. So that would be a very good pickup if they could get him. And it's more of a proven player than maybe they were thinking they could get at that spot, because even if you'd got the kid from Florida, he'd been mostly a guard and stuff, and he hadn't snapped the ball. And so that I know of. And I asked him if he'd ever played center. He said no. So I take it that he hadn't snapped. He might have been practice or something, but this kid has, and you know what you're getting there. So, he's not as big as the kid from Florida that went to Nebraska, but he's 294 pounds. He got a chance to put on some more weight. But even at that, he's big enough to play center, because you're basically 294 pounds, 300 pounds, whatever, I know they're getting bigger all the time. That's still big enough to play football if you know what you're doing. And like I said, SMU played some good teams, and he held his own more than held his own in those games.
Yeah, and SMU too, about to join the Big 12, or excuse me, the ACC. Yeah. Man, I'm off today. So it should be interesting to see. Again, the Hogs, we know what happened last season with the offensive line, the injuries, the inability to protect for the pass. So hoping that, this revamped, restylized offensive line under Bobby Petrino will give whoever the quarterback's going to be some more time in the pocket to make some of the throws that we didn't see last year. But Otis, anything else before we go?
No, that's pretty much it for today. Just, like I said, there's used to the signing day on Wednesday would have been the biggest day of the year, like another Christmas, but with everybody signing early, it's kind of a forgotten thing now. Last year they signed Shamar Easter on National Signing Day, and and that was it. So it's kind of a forgotten thing, but it used to be a really big thing to look forward to. But changes have come, it's like everything else, and hit the recruiting world.
Absolutely. A new era of college football. Well, for Otis Kirk, I'm Evan Camico. That's going to do it for this week's Arkansas Football Recruiting Report. We'll see everybody next Sunday.